An Introduction to the Science of Hadith by Ibn Salah al-Shahrazuri, 577 to 653, the most influential work on the Science of Hadith. It is said that the first to make a distinction between these two terms was Ibn Wahab in Egypt. This is refuted by the fact that this is also said of Ibn Jurayj and al-Awza'i, who was earlier. Abu Bakr al-Khatib related it about them. Unless it is what is meant is that Ibn Wahab was the first to do this in Egypt. God knows best. Differentiating between he transmitted to us and he informed us has become widespread, predominating amongst the scholars of Hadith. The attempt to justify the differentiation from the standpoint of linguistic usage is laboured and contrived. The best that may be said for it is that it is a convention amongst the scholars of Hadith who sought by observing it to discriminate between the two means of receiving Hadith. The first is specified by the term he transmitted to us because of its strong implication of pronunciation and oral communication. One of the best things that is related about this is someone who subscribed to this doctrine is the expert Abu Bakr al-Barqani, who related to the effect that Abu Hatim Muhammad ibn Yaqub al-Harawi, one of the chief scholars of Hadith in Khurasan, was reciting the Sahih of Bukhari to his teacher al-Farabri, and for each Hadith he said to his teacher, Farabri transmitted to you. When he completed the book, he heard his teacher say that he had heard the book from Farabri by means of recitation to him. So Abu Hatim repeated the recitation of the entire book, and he said to his teacher, for all of it, Farabri informed you. God knows best. Subsidiary issues. A. When the recitation to the teacher his text is in the hands of someone else, and this person may be relied upon, is attentive to what is recited and is qualified for this. If the teacher knows the material recited to him, it is as if his text were in his own hand, only because of the cooperation of the mind of two people on it. If the teacher does not know the material recited to him, there is some disagreement about the validity of the transmission when he is not holding his text. One of the authorities in legal theory held this form of audition is not valid. The preferred opinion is that it is valid, and most of the teachers and scholars of Hadith act upon it. When the teacher's text is in the hands of the reciter, and he is someone who may be relied upon in regard to his religion and knowledge, the verdict on it is the same, and it is in fact more deserving of being considered valid. When the teacher does not know the material recited to him, and his text is in the hands of someone who may not be relied upon to hold it, and whose neglect of what is recited may not be guaranteed against it, it is the same whether he is the reciter or no, for it is not an audition which may be credited. God knows best. B. When the reciter says to the teacher, X informed you, or you said X informed you, or something similar to that, while the teacher remains silent, listening attentively to it and comprehending it and not objecting to it, then this behaviour is sufficient to establish the accuracy of the recitation. Some of the Zahiris and others have imposed the condition that the teacher must verbally assent to it. The Shafi'i jurist Abu Ishaq al-Shirazi, Abu al-Fath Sulaym al-Razi, and Abu Nasr al-Sabbagh stated this unequivocally. Abu Nasr said, the student may not say he transmitted to me or he informed me without his teacher's verbal assent. He may not act in accordance with what was recited to him, and if he wants to relate it from his teacher, he should say, I recited to him, or it was recited to him while he was listening. In contrast, it is related from some writers that one of the Zahiris stipulated that the teacher must express his assent upon the completion of the audition through the reciter asking him, is it as I recited to you? And his saying yes. The correct view is that this is not necessary. The obvious implications suffice, and the silence of the teacher in the aforementioned fashion takes the place of this explicit endorsement of the reciter. This is the doctrine of the majority of the scholars, jurists and others. God knows best. C. According to what we hear, the expert Abu Abdullah al-Hakim, may God bless him, said, in transmission, the procedure I prefer, and the one I saw most of my teachers and the authorities in my era adhering to, is for the student to say for the material he took verbally from the speech of the transmitter while he was alone, X transmitted to me, and for the material he took from his speech in the presence of others, X transmitted to us. For the material he personally recited to the transmitter, he should say, X informed me, and for what was recited while he was merely present, X informed us. We heard indeed something similar to that from Abdullah ibn Wahab, the disciple of Malik, God be pleased with him. It is extremely good. If a transmitter has doubts regarding something in his possession as to whether it falls under the heading of he transmitted to us or he informed us, or under the heading of he transmitted to me or he informed me, because of his uncertainty over whether he was alone or with others at the time of the reception and the audition, it is possible for us to say, let him say, he transmitted to me, or he informed me, because the absence of others is presumed. However, the authority of Ali ibn Abdullah al-Madini stated from his teacher, the authority Yahya bin Sa'id al-Qattan, and the transmitter should say, X transmitted to us, for the material regarding which he is uncertain whether his teacher said X transmitted to me or X transmitted to us. This would require that the transmitter himself say he transmitted to us when he is in doubt over his own audition in such a case. In my opinion, this is possible because he transmitted to me is more complete in terms of rank, and he transmitted to us is more defective. So when the transmitter is in doubt, let him limit himself to the defective form, because the absence of the additional persons is presumed. This is a fine point. I found that the expert Ahmed al-Bayhaqi, God bless him, had chosen the view I presented above. This is the preference for me, after quoting the statement of Yahya bin Sa'id al-Qattan. Making this distinction between me and us on the principle Abu Abdullah al-Hakim is desirable but not mandatory. Al-Khatib related this view from all of the scholars of Hadith. Thus, it is permissible for the student, when he hears the Hadith by himself, to say, he transmitted to us, or something similar, because in the speech of the Arabs, that is permissible for a single individual. Furthermore, he is permitted, when he hears Hadith as a part of a group, to say, he transmitted to me, because the teacher did transmit to him, as well as transmitting to the others. God knows best. Stay tuned for many more parts.